Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're here this morning to discuss the licence application for Rayleigh Football Club. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone to please switch off the mobile phones and turn them to silent. There are no planned fire drills, so if the alarm activates, please leave the building in an orderly fashion via your nearest fire exit. There are no fire drills planned for this morning. In the event of the fire alarm sounding, please leave the building via the nearest exit and make your way to the assembly point located in Market Car Park adjacent to the Civic Suite building. Please do not delay your evacuation to collect any belongings, but please do not return to the building until given permission to do so by the council staff. Please be informed that this hearing will be live streamed, so please switch your microphone on when speaking. I'm chairman of this meeting today. My name is Councillor Arthur Williams. I'm the chairman of Licensing and Regulatory Subcommittee. The other members are on my right, Councillor Joe McPherson, and on my left, Councillor Phil Shaw. Thank you. The committee's legal advisor is Nargis Sultan, who is on Joe's right. Thank you. And today we are joined by Council's Democratic Services Officer, who will be noting today's proceedings. Are there any declarations of interest? Councillor Lisa Newport.
Just a declaration that I'm a serving Rayleigh Town Councillor.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Brewer.
Thank you, Chair, that I'm the Chairman of Rayleigh Town Council.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you. The committee will follow the procedure set out on the procedural note at item 3 on the agenda. The subcommittee will consider the report of the Senior Licensing Officer. The application for a new premises licence is to be determined. Members of the Licensing Subcommittee should determine the application through consideration of the information contained in the report. The application for a new premises licence and any appendices combined with submissions made at the Licensing Subcommittee hearing, the options available are. I'm not sure that we need to go into all those details there, but could the applicant or their representative, please, could they introduce themselves?
Good morning. Yes, my name is Paul Mitchell, and I'm the chairman of Rayleigh Boys Football Club.
Thank you. To the council officers, please could the council licensing officers introduce themselves?
Good morning, my name is Simon Barnes. I'm a senior licensing officer.
Good morning, I'm Brad Wheeler, senior licensing officer.
Thank you very much. Do we have any interested parties that need to make themselves known? No, thank you. Sorry. Thank you very much. Could you repeat that with the microphone, please? Sorry.
David Cant. Well, that's loud. I was told to speak loudly, and that's loud. Environmental Health at Rochford District Council.
Okay. The lady behind.
Catherine Kelly. I will be speaking in opposition of the application.
Okay, thank you. Have all parties received the agenda and reports for today's hearing? I would like to point out that we have just received a submission from Rayleigh Football Club, which really, I have to say, is a little late to have that 5 minutes before, but we will do our best to take all of that into consideration when we adjourn. Thank you. For the committee will follow the procedure set out in the procedural note, item 3 on the agenda. Please could all parties be reminded that they each have 15 minutes to present their case. For the avoidance of doubt, if there are more than one interested party speaking, the 15 minutes will be apportioned equally. Oops, sorry. That's loud. Right, all parties that make submissions will be given 2 minutes at the end of the hearing to make a closing statement if they so wish. I will now invite the Council's licensing officer to summarise the application, please. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My report is obviously contained within your pack, and I will not mean to go through it in length. I'll highlight the key details throughout the application. The application was received by our office on the 8th of April of this year. At that time, it was not considered valid due to errors within the application. These were rectified on the 14th of May, and at that point, the application was submitted for consultation. The application seeks for the sale of retail on premises, provision of late night refreshment, and the provision of regulated entertainment forming live music, recorded music, indoor sports, and film. The hours being requested on the application are 9 a.m. to midnight, Sunday to Wednesday, and 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. A copy of this application can be found at Appendix A, page 17 of your bundle. The consultation was initially run between the 14th of May and the 4th of June, but was further subsequently extended when notices were found to be in deficit at the location, extending to the 18th of June. During the consultation, the licensing authority has received 45 representations from 35 different households, which can be found at Appendices D and E of your bundles. We have also received a representation from David Kant of Environmental Health, which can be found at Appendix C. The applicant has supplied a supporting statement, which is contained in Appendix F, in addition to the bundle that was received today. We also note that a number of agreed conditions between the applicant and Essex Police have been received. This now forms part of the application and can be found at Appendix G or page 167 of your bundle. I have also noted out key parts of the Section 182 guidance to which you will need to consider at point 3.2 from our own policy of licensing, which is found at 3.3, and from the newly created National Licensing Policy Framework at point 3.4. I have also provided some case law which may be of interest to the committee regarding the cases of Hope and Glory and Freights, which can be found at points 3.6 and 3.7 respectively. The key issues that have been raised from the point of view of the licensing authority within the interested party representations can be found at 4.1, but to highlight, the key issues appear to be the level of noise that could be produced by the premises, drunken behaviour both in and around the premises, and the close proximity of residential housing and litter in the local area. To assist the committee, I have also attached a local earth map of the local area to allow you to see the position of residents, open fields, and where the premises sits within Rayleigh, as well as some local photos from the ground to put things into context. These are contained on page 39 of your bundle at Appendix B. The options available to the subcommittee today are to grant the application in full within the terms of their application alongside the conditions agreed with Essex Police, to grant the application making modifications to the application to satisfy any relevant representations that you have received, either in the pack or through the addition of the summations today, to support the licensing objectives, or to refuse the application in whole or in part, but this should be your option of last resort, considering the first two options as the more primary options. I do not mean to go any further, as you have no doubt read through my report in detail, so I'll open to any questions that you may wish to ask at this stage.
Yes, thank you. We will come to that, but at this point, could the applicant please introduce themselves and put your case forward, please.
Yes, so good morning. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today. Our club has been run for 50 years and we're the heart of this community. During the generations, local families and volunteers and coaches have supported the club. We're very fortunate today that the founder member, Brian Mitchell, is here today. He has an MBE for football in helping children's football in the community. And that's the basis of where the football club started. We are entirely volunteer-led and non-profit. Every pound we raise is invested back into the club to improve facilities, support our volunteers, purchase equipment, and most importantly, keeping football available to all the young children and families that play for us. The pavilion itself is largely unused and had fallen into disrepair for many years. In fact, it was derelict, going by the council's answers when we spoke to them about it. Working with Raleigh Town Council and Rochford Council, we took on a lease and invested at least £80,000 worth of the club's money, and we had a grant from Viola, the bin people, to help us get the facility up to standard. Since reopening the pavilion, it has become much more than a football clubhouse. It is now a valued community asset, providing facilities not only for the members, but also for local volunteer organisations, community groups and local residents. The application is about ensuring that the community asset remains financially stable and continues to benefit local people for many years to come. The application before you today is about helping us to secure a long-term future in that community work. I would like to begin by making one thing absolutely clear. This application is not about creating a public bar, a nightclub, a late night entertainment venue. It is not about changing the character of the pavilion or attaching large number of people into the area late at night. Unfortunately, the hall actually only takes about 50 to 60 people. It is nothing compared to the Grange that has 220 people in one hall and slightly less in a second hall that they have. The application is not about creating the hours applied for representation was the maximum of hours permitted under the licence. They simply provide flexibility for the occasional presentation evenings, fundraising events, volunteer celebration, charity functions, community gatherings that enables us to generate additional income to support the grassroots football. Before submitting our application, we sought advice and were advised that the sensible approach was to apply for a maximum permitted hours, even though their use would be an exception rather than a norm. Unlike a commercial business, every pound generated through these events, is reinvested directly back into the club. It helps to maintain and improve the facilities, purchase equipment, support our volunteers, and importantly, keep cost of participants as low as possible for our local families. As a football club, we are one of the lowest charging club for kids football compared to all the others in the local area. Members will have representatives submitted by local residents, and I would like to say at the offset that I understand those concerns. Anyone living close to the community facility is entitled to expect it to be operated responsibly, and Raleigh Football Club has always recognised that responsibility. These concerns deserve to be heard equally. I would respectfully ask members to consider our application against the evidence before them. For the past 50 years, Raleigh Football Club has operated within this community without a history of undermining licence objectives. If there were evidence that the club had consistently caused crime and disorder and public nuisance, safeguarding failures or public safety concerns, I would fully understand why the members might hesitate. But this is not the case. Much of the concern expressed relates to what might happen rather than what has actually happened over the past 5 decades. The Licensing Act's decision to be based upon the promotion of the licence objectives. We respectfully submit that our long-standing record demonstrates we have a responsible organisation capable of operating within them. One concern raised is that the pavilion is located close to a primary school, a child's play area and other community facilities. Respectfully, I would suggest that this demonstrates exactly why Rayleigh Football Club is an appropriate organisation to hold the premises licence. Children are at the very centre of what we do. Hundreds of young people participate in football at Rayleigh FC every week. Safeguarding is not simply something we talk about. It is embedded in the way we operate. Every decision the club makes is considered through lens of safeguarding and the welfare of children. Our coaches, volunteers, committee members understand these responsibilities, and the grant of the premises licence would not alter them in any way. The suggestion that alcohol sales somehow make the club incompatible with children overlooks the fact that the community supports clubs across the country successfully balancing both responsibility every day. Should the licence be granted, alcohol would be sold responsibly under the supervision of a trained staff and volunteers within Challenge 25 in place with a strict compliance of the law. There will be no walk-in bar. Alcohol will only be available during organised club or community events. Noise has been raised as a concern. Again, we understand why residents would want reassurance. Our attention is not to create regular loud entertainment or disturbance. Events will be occasionally proportionate to the nature of the club and managed responsibly. We are entirely willing to work with responsible conditions that members consider appropriate to protect neighbouring residents. The same applies to concerns regarding litter. The pavilion is our home. We have every incentive to ensure it remains clean, tidy and well maintained because of our own members and families use it every week. Reference has also been made to antisocial behaviour in the park. Those issues are clearly a matter of concern, but they are not caused by Rayleigh Football Club. Indeed, organised community activities, responsible adults and volunteers supervise, often help discourage antisocial behaviour rather than contribute to it. We have found that being in the hall has actually counteracted any antisocial behaviour because you're there and in the process of doing different things. In the mornings before football, we have to go out and clean the car park if anyone's been there and dropped anything that shouldn't be there. What unfortunately we have to do, but we do have a lot of children playing football in the area. Again, I respectfully remind members that there is a maximum permitted hours, not the hours the pavilion would routinely operate. Community organisations commonly seek broader licensing hours to provide flexibility for occasional events without repeatedly return to their licence. They should not be interpreted as an intention to operate until midnight or 1 o'clock every night. Rayleigh Football Club fully accepts that holding a premises licence carries significant responsibilities. We are committed to operating responsibly, complying with all the licence conditions, maintaining appropriate supervision, operating robust age verification procedures and ensuring all events are properly managed from beginning to end. Immediately next door stands Rayleigh Grange Community Centre, a council-owned community facility that also benefits from a premises licence permitted comparable operating they are within 30 feet of our door. It is also worth noting at the time of publication, more than 694 local people have signed our petition since Friday. That support comes from parents, volunteers, local residents and members of the wider community who know the club, understand how it operates, recognise the positive contributions it makes to Rayleigh. I do have a copy of the petition that we have had running since Friday. Ultimately, members are being asked one simple question: can Rayleigh Boys Football Club be trusted to operate a permissions licence responsibly? We respectfully submit that our 50-year history provides the answer. We are not asking for special treatment. We are simply asking for flexibility needed to continue supporting grassroots football while operating responsibly and in accordance with the licensing objectives. On behalf of everyone connected with Rayleigh Boys Football, I respectfully ask the members to grant this application. And I would just like to say that the hall itself is very small. It is not a large concern. It isn't taking up lots of parking. So we've had a bar licence all weekend. We haven't had any complaints or any problems with parking or anyone being there. That was on a tens. So that was this weekend. So we've had quite a few people coming and going. We've had no antisocial behaviour in the park this weekend, as we didn't have to clean up anything Saturdays and Sundays before training. So I would just like to say thank you very much for letting us speak today, and we are open to any questions.
Thank you very much. You've
Chair.
got in time. Thank you.
Apologies, Chair. May I just interject just very quickly? The applicant mentioned about a petition that was signed. Obviously, that's information very new to the committee just now. There's no way, obviously, of verifying what those are, and it's up to really the committee how much weight, if at all, they want to attach to that. But they'll be advised accordingly.
Again, we was advised to try and get a petition together on Friday, it was only 4 days ago, we asked and put it out on social media, and we had just under 700 in 4 days of people saying that it's a great idea. It sort of counterbalances the fact that someone else put one out there to count, was a bit more biased and said just to object. There was not an in-between. So we've gone out there and asked, if everybody would like this to go ahead.
Like I said, the committee will be advised accordingly when they do their deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I understand that some committee members may now have some questions for you. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Chairman. Right, these are for the club. You mentioned around you had been given advice for the late hours. Your words were, it's not about providing a late night venue. So my question is, why did you not challenge that advice? And therefore, are you comfortable to reduce those hours?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we just offered to do that. So at the time, this is obviously new to us as well. So we would be happy to, keep the same hours as the Grange or, anything reasonable. Obviously, it was just, when you're new to something and then you have a list of things to go down and it says go to the maximum, we went to the maximum. It wasn't intentional to have a nightclub, and we're definitely not thinking of having a pub. So it's just really for events, We don't know why one would go on till 1 o'clock, but we thought, it's there to be put in, so that's what we did it as.
Thank you.
Does that answer?
It does, but hopefully in a little while the licensing officer will confirm the hours for the Grange with the committee. How are you going to keep people from spilling out? What's your plans around providing an area for smokers or vape users? Yeah,
so we have a double foyer. What we've built into to the front of the building so that people can't spill out, so they have to go through a double doors. So no drinks were going to be going past that area. So that was one of the reasons. It was another reason to do the double doors to stop the noise penetrating outwards. So we got 2 lots of double glazed doors. And smoking, there is a smoking area over by the Grange that we was going to use to, if someone wanted to smoke, they can go. They've got an outside ashtray.
I'm just thinking about how you're going to manage that, because obviously once those smokers are out, there may be 2 or 3. And if this is quite late at night, voices do travel, so that can cause a disturbance. So how will you manage it?
Yeah, so our policy would have been to send them to where the Grange is, to what is, again, a bit further away from the road, and ask them to use that if they want to. But we are a totally non-smoking area, mostly because of the children, but we are down as a non-smoking community area, and we'd like to really stay that way. So our policy would be to send them. I mean, if you require us to put a smoking area in, we can do that. We have a boarded off area around the pavilion.
Thank you. You've got an amazing 50-year history. I know the club well from young people playing football. But can I ask, what's your experience in running a premises licence?
Well, not running a premises licence, but I personally have worked in bars when I was younger and up to my 30s, and so did my wife. We obviously run 2 cafes that don't have alcohol, but we run that sort of facility, but not for alcohol. So my wife has taken the exam and passed all those. Obviously, she's the one that's in charge. We all listen to. And our daughter also is a bar person. She's got an apprenticeship at the Paul Pry. So we have people that we can rely on to do the right thing.
Thank you. I've just got 2 more, and then, well, I've got quite a few, but I'm not going to keep asking questions. You say the events will be proportional to the club. So tell me what proportional is. Give me an explanation of how many events and what sort of events.
So at the moment, we've had 1 quiz night, 1 presentation, and at the moment we're looking to do another quiz on the 4th of September or the 5th. And we've got a poppy day. So we haven't booked everything in as of yet, because we was waiting to find out where this was going to go. Because obviously if this wasn't going to happen, we'd have to apply each time to get the licence. So at the moment, we're not actually planning anything until we know where we're at. We've been asked to do a charity event and a poppy making event for some ladies to come in. Whether they require alcohol or not would be subject to the time and when it is, if we've got a licence.
Thank you. And I may come back on my other questions if other members don't ask them. But just going to the police requested conditions, are you willing to accept those in their entirety? Yeah,
we spoke to them, yeah. We also spoke to 365 Group that covers events as well, and they're willing to, supply anything if we ever get to that area where we require someone. I spoke to them the other day, and they're more than happy to, help out with anything that we want to do, and they're already involved in Rochford and Rayleigh.
Thank you, Chairman. I may come back afterwards if that's permitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Shaw.
Thank you, Chairman. One question. You've provided a plan of the area, changing rooms, toilets, stores, etc. Where is the bar going to be situated?
Sorry, I'm not sure what drawing you've got, but it'll be next to the kitchen. At the moment, we'd run it through the kitchen out there. So as you walk in the foyer, there'll be an area for serving at the moment alcohol. But we are looking to just, as you come out the kitchen into the hall, just corner off and put a bar in.
So that would be permanent. So it would be in the changing room area.
Yeah, it's
on
no
page
longer a
38 of
changing
the
room,
map.
but yeah.
We've-
Yeah. So I can't quite see, yeah.
That worries me a bit, that you're asking for a licence from 9 o'clock in the morning, and that changing area is still going to be used then by children, yes?
Sorry, it's not a changing room. Sorry.
Or changing
Sorry.
area, it
Yeah,
says.
it's not a changing area anymore. That was the original, so it got converted to a hall. There's no changing facilities in this hall anymore. It's just toilets, disabled toilets, and a hall with a kitchen. There is no changing area. With children's football, we do not do changing areas anymore. It's only adult football, so we don't have any changing areas at all.
Thank you.
If I may just come in there, do you have a formal bar at the moment? You had a tens over the weekend. Do you have a formal bar, or is it? How do you serve alcohol?
At this present second, when we get a tens, we serve it from the cafe opening, from the kitchen. Well, it's like the kitchen. It's not in the kitchen. We got an opening for it to come from.
So, do you intend to have a formal bar?
We'd like one, yeah.
Right.
We obviously haven't got any funds at the moment, so we're going to do some events to then hopefully put a bar in.
So the hall, do children have access to that during a normal match or whatever you do? Do the children have access to that area?
They can do, but we don't normally open the double doors. So unless we've got an event or they want to use the toilet, they go round the outside and come in the exit to use the toilets from football.
Where do the players change now?
There is no players changing areas because you can't have children's playing and changing anymore in kids football. So that's why the area, if they want to go and get changed in the toilets, they can do, but and the disabled toilet. But the main area is a hall.
So just for my point of clarity, you are only a children's football club.
No, we are a men's and ladies but we have another ground near the Chichester where we have changing rooms, another cafe.
Okay.
And they play there. Men's don't play at John Fisher's. It's only kids at the moment.
Yeah, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Councillors, do you have any other questions?
Just a couple more questions, please. Capacity 50 to 60 people. That's 50 to 60 cars. Is the capacity for the car park enough for 50 to 60 cars?
It's 70.
It's
so,
70.
But at the moment, that car park is used also for the Grange.
Right.
But they have 220 people capacity. So we, at the moment, are only doing the odd event, and we never get a full car park. Not from an event, but we have only run two. So at the moment.
Okay, I'm looking at the cumulative effect of all those cars.
I get
in
that.
addition, if the Grange has got a big event on, in addition to that, and obviously then the overspill of people, etc. I don't know if there's any officer that can answer that. I'm looking at my legal advisor really. Anything else? Can you answer that at all?
Can I just add something? Is that possible? I mean, when we did the quiz night, because everyone was quite local, they actually got taxis. So the car park was hardly used. But obviously, with the Grange, it hasn't been used properly as a community centre for the last 5 years since COVID. So it at the moment is rarely used. I get it will hopefully one day be used. But at the moment, it hasn't been used. The bath hasn't been used for over 5 years. So as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, I'm just
I see what you're
playing devil's advocate.
Yep.
If the Grange becomes a successful venue again and they've got a capacity for over 100, as you said, the car park's only 70, we've already got a problem. And then when we've got 70 cars on top of that, we've got a greater problem.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can look at that.
Well, I have tried to liaise with everybody booking the hall because it would make a problem when we do football. So without the bar licence, the football itself, if they put a venue on, and this is the reason I've been trying to get an answer from Rochford, but at the moment they're refurbing it, so they haven't got that many people going in it. And I think when someone takes it over, it'll be sensible for us all to sit down and say, this is what we would try to do. If they want to do something, we'll all accommodate each other.
Yeah, and I totally understand that, but usually your football won't be in the evening, late at night, and that is when we're looking at possibly there being more antisocial behaviour and parking issues.
Yeah, with the antisocial behaviour, with us being there, it has been virtually zero. It's when we're not there is obviously an issue, but the issue really is that Rayleigh Town Council hasn't done anything to prevent it at any point in the last 5 years. So it seems a bit of a free-for-all for someone to go there and park, smoke, do whatever they want to do. Whereas while we're there, it does stop it.
Yeah.
So
I would say we're straying a little bit, but it wouldn't be down to the town council. That would be down to policing, where if they have reports of antisocial behaviour, they will address them. And management of people leaving the premises late at night. If you can explain how you will manage that.
yeah, I mean, on the last two that we've done, we've literally, most of them had taxis, so they come in, go off, and go out. But we are outside manning the car park. So when people go, we are there to make sure everyone goes and leaves quietly.
Thank you. Just checking on my list if I've got anything else. Sorry.
I just would like to say that we have done quite large events at our football ground. So car parking is one of our specialties at the bigger ground. We do manage to take in quite a lot of people and get them out without any issue.
Yeah, and it's just going back again to that clarity around when you said the events would be proportional to your club without actually knowing the figures. Having the odd one or two events has less impact on people than regular events.
I quite agree. Yeah. I mean, if we did one a month, I'd be pleased.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Shaw, you have another question?
Thank you, Chairman.
Chair, I think the officer has a question. I don't know if you spotted him.
Sorry, thank you.
No, it's just to return back to the comments from the council in regards to the Grange Community Centre, to confirm that the licence details are contained at 2.9 of my report. The premises currently holds similar licensable activities to the applicant, with the sole exception of that they do not have film, they have dance, but the hours that they have are 10 a.m. to 11 p.m, Monday to Saturday, and 12 noon and 10:30 on a Sunday.
Thanks for the clarification. Councillor Shaw?
Thank you, Chair. Part of the application is for you could have live music, other music, film and everything.
So going to the application, yet again, being new to it, we just ticked every box. We aren't planning any live music. We're not, we've not got any, ideas to have any live music. It was just as we was going through it, we just went for the maximum of everything, not thinking that we'd have this problem. If so, we probably wouldn't have put in for it.
Right. So, my question was whether the building is adequately insulated for that sort of thing.
So we rebuilt the whole pavilion, we re-insulated it, we membraned it, we plied it, we metal cladded it, we double glazed it, and put new soundproof ceilings in to stop any penetration of noise as much as we possibly could. I believe we're probably better soundproofed than the Grange.
Thank you, Councillor Shaw. At this point, I'm going to move on to interested parties. Firstly, if I may, Councillor Brewer, do you have anything that you would like to say?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I do believe that this document that we've just been handed today, as we say, we haven't had time to read, may answer some questions that residents and ourselves have had. However, if I could just state again, I'm one of the ward councillors for Rayleigh Town Council and Rochford, and also a local resident. I'm in the next row to where this pavilion is. I've been contacted by many residents in the immediate vicinity and surrounding roads, including the properties along the pathway directly across the road from the pavilion that runs from Little Wheatley Chase to Haddon Close and into a Louis Drive estate, which will probably experience increased footfall and noise at night. And this has been reported to me by very many of the residents that live along that area. Again, we've already addressed some of these subjects, but the majority of comments is a concern about the length of time the licence is requested, depending on days from 9 till 1. As Simon's just already confirmed, I was going to mention those times for the Grange, they are different. And it's noted that it's the broadest time frame, but if it was granted, it would be fully flexible to operate within those parameters. We believe, as the residents, that this would exacerbate any antisocial behaviour already an issue with the car park and field. We would hope that what we've heard just now, that if the football are there, then obviously that would help. I can't see, though, any mention of them other than volunteers having any SIA trained or anything like that, or they'd have to call the police, which our residents do already. It was initially understood that the sports pavilion would be used as a changing facility to include toilets and a provision for teas, coffees and snacks, not as a clubhouse and events centre. We're unaware of when that change came about. And it's assumed that the majority of children and families do not reside in the immediate area and shall probably travel by car, giving rise to heightened traffic and noise from car and doors, etc. Again, after what we've just heard from, sorry, I didn't say, not councillor, the gentleman, that it looks as though their intentions are different to what it was given us and the residents to believe at first. I do wonder how that would be mitigated in circumstances, and it would be down to yourselves in licensing, please, to look at that concern. The further concerns of public nuisance are that the events will not be contained in the internal premises. I believe that Councillor Macpherson has just brought this up. She's included quite a few of my comments. I'll try and cut those out. As those that smoke and vape will need to be in the small area outside and directly next to the road. Obviously, there is an area outside the Grange Community Centre, but that is quite a walk across, and I just don't see we don't see them doing it locally, so I can't see that happening. With the late night entertainment, music and football events on screen, it could lead to more noise due to the building construction. I know we've just had that mentioned. And also littering. I do understand that you probably will be looking after the outside area in your own building, but this will be people walking away from there, littering in the area. We already have to do litter picks, and I know some of my residents do that. Now, I was given to understand that alcohol will be served during and after football training and matches. It hasn't come about in this statement. I'd probably like clarity on that. But it is believed that alcohol consumption is neither appropriate or necessary during children's matches and could lead to parents drink driving and placing the children at risk of harm. It has been raised recently by the police that alcohol and football relation has become an issue, and the fact of children thinking that alcohol and football are linked may influence their developmental years into adulthood, associating them together. It is on a national police action at the moment. The residents believe granting of a licence will negatively impact on the local area. I have got all my representations marked out, so I won't go through those at the moment. They are to be seen. However, we hope that if the council is minded to approve a licence, that robust considerations will be applied to safeguard children, the local community, the security at events, provision for the increased refuse, and all recommendations from the fire and emergency services, where I note they've recommended CCTV, and I believe that the pavilion would need to get permission for that. However, I also want to note that personally, I would support any children's football and any other sport aimed at the health and well-being of our youth. I'm just concerned about the extensive hours and the impact on our local residents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Brewer. I've managed to get out of order here, and I should have asked our Environmental Health Officer to make his submission. So if we could do that now before I come to Councillor Newport. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. No problem. So yes, I'm David Cant, representing Environmental Health. Our representation was primarily relating to the prevention of public nuisance. I had concerns with the proposed terminal hour for live and recorded music, namely 1 a.m. Thursday through Sunday and midnight Sunday to Wednesday, as has been kind of discussed extensively already. The primary concern is the proximity of residential premises on the eastern side of Little Wheatley Chase. I felt that those hours were out of keeping with the location and character of the area and inconsistent with the proposed use as a grassroots football club. Since submitting my representation and discussing my concerns with the applicant, they had indicated, as they have done again today, that they would be amenable to agreeing hours which were more in keeping or mirrored directly the Rayleigh Grange Community Centre. Again, I was going to outline those, but Simon's done that already. I think for context, from our point of view, the community centre has held a premises licence for many years and has kind of demonstrated its ability to operate without kind of failing the licensing objectives. There's no record from our point of view of any noise complaints related directly to the community centre's use as a licensed premises. The few complaints that we have on record relate to kind of the wider ASB within the park from boy racers and kind of general youths, but not, as far as I can make out, related to the premises licence itself. I think our objection would largely fall away if those hours were agreed and were consistent with the Grange, because there wasn't really any evidence for us to object further on that basis. In terms of kind of additional controls, well, there's no external seating area, and the applicant, from what I hear, has agreed conditions with the police in terms of drinks being taken outside. So that kind of helps minimise the risk of patron noise. They're not likely to congregate outside to drink, or they shouldn't be allowed to. There's still some uncertainty around the sound attenuating properties of the building, as has been discussed, but I think it boils down to, if the premises is used as is being proposed by the club, then it's unlikely, certainly from a music and from a noise point of view, to cause a public nuisance. But the open nature of the premises licence is that concern. What you plan and what ultimately comes to pass or develops over time can be different. I think if the committee is minded to grant a licence, then I'd recommend that a reduction in the hours, as already discussed, and some additional conditions around windows and doors being closed as and when music and or any kind of entertainment is taking place. The committee could consider the use of something like a noise limiter by condition. They're not uncommon in these kinds of premises, but it's whether or not there's really sufficient evidence that it would be necessary, whether it be disproportionate for a facility of this kind. That's something that we can potentially address after the fact, even if there is if the licence is granted. If there are any complaints, then we've got the review of the licence, or we've got the statutory nuisance provisions that we would use to investigate any noise complaints anyway. I've got no further comments, so if there's any questions, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Do you have any questions, Councillor McPherson?
I think you've answered most compared to your original report. I think the problem here is, and again, just raising the residents' concerns, is around managing any noise. We've already heard, and I don't know if there's discussion around that the licence applied for had films, music, etc., which it doesn't sound as though that's what the club is now planning, if they're looking at quiz nights and things like that. But the sound limiter, due to the makeup of this building, could be useful, because I noticed in your original report it was quite a difficult building to have mitigated the noise.
In its original form, yeah. I don't know the precise details of how it's been converted, and the only way to really know the sound insulating properties of that building is probably to either get an acoustic consultant in to work out the sound reduction index of every part of the building and figure out what kind of attenuation it provides, or get a DJ in and have it played on a Friday night and see what it sounds like outside. But that's probably not really an option where we are. If we'd have thought about this, or we'd had the opportunity earlier on, we could perhaps had a temporary event notice run, get a DJ in, or just run the music over the existing system and kind of work out and monitor and see what was the most appropriate way to proceed. So yeah, there is that uncertainty, I think, still.
And that, of course, the club may be willing to accept a sound limiter, you said?
Yeah, so it's essentially a device that you would run any recorded music through, and it, as the name suggests, either will limit the level or it will cut it out completely if it goes above a certain level. They're quite common in pubs and clubs and community halls and things. It's just whether the expense is kind of proportionate and appropriate for this kind of application, but it's not for me to say.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. As far as I'm aware, the club has run some events with the 10s notice. Have we had any complaints?
No.
Thank you. Councillor Shaw, do you have any questions?
No further at the moment, thank you.
Thank you. Right, at this point we go back to the interested parties so I think that would be Councillor Lisa Newport, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. And just for transparency, again, I'd just like to say that I have a registrable interest as a serving Rayleigh Town Councillor. I am today speaking as the elected ward councillor for Rayleigh and on behalf of residents who have asked me to represent their concerns. My representation is based entirely on the licensing objectives and the likely impact this application may have on local residents, children and families. Whilst I fully support community sport and the continued success of the pavilion, my objection is not to youth football or community activities. It is to the introduction of alcohol sales, regulated entertainment and late night activities at this location. The pavilion is a sports facility which initially we have been led to believe is used exclusively for youth football. It is located within a residential area immediately adjacent to a primary school and next to a public park that is used extensively by children, families and local residents. The application seeks alcohol sales from 9 a.m. until midnight, Sunday to Wednesday, and from 9 until 1 a.m. Thursday to Saturday, together with extensive entertainment permissions. Those are substantial hours for a venue used exclusively for youth football and appear wholly disproportionate to the primary purpose of the premises. In relation to the protection of children from harm, this venue exists for children and young people and sits next to a primary school and public park. I do not believe the application demonstrates why alcohol sales are necessary in this setting or how the wider safeguarding concerns have been addressed. In relation to public safety, many visitors travel to and from the site by car. The introduction of alcohol sales increase the potential for alcohol consumption before people drive home. The premises are adjacent to the primary school, where the surrounding roads experience increased pedestrian activity at the start and end of the school day. The extensive hours sought increase the potential for public safety concerns. In relation to the prevention of crime and disorder, introducing alcohol sales to premises that have not previously been licensed creates an increased risk of alcohol-related antisocial behaviour and disorder. Given the proximity of the public park, there is a legitimate concern that people may congregate outside the premises after licensed activities have ended, increasing the potential for nuisance, public drinking and antisocial behaviour. In relation to the prevention of public nuisance, residents living nearby are entitled to a reasonable expectation of peace and quiet. Midnight and 1 a.m. closing times create a foreseeable risk of disturbance from vehicle movements, patrons arriving and leaving, outdoor congregation, entertainment activities and associated noise. Finally, this application introduces alcohol sales where none currently exist. The licensing authority must determine the application on the permissions being sought, not on any informal assurances about how the premises may initially operate. If granted, those permissions attached to the premises and could be exercised in full by future operators. For these reasons, I respectfully submit that granting this application would undermine the licensing objectives of preventing crime and disorder, ensuring public safety, preventing public nuisance and protecting children from harm. I therefore respectfully ask the subcommittee to refuse the application. And if I may, Chair, I'd like to ask a question regarding the layout of the premises. There only appears to be one entrance, exit. Is that still the case? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. I think we have another interested person. First of all, do any members of the committee have a question for the two ward councillors? No, thank you very much for that. The lady at the back. Sorry, I don't have your name.
That's okay.
If you would just mind just bearing with us a moment.
Sorry, the chairman will get annoyed with me. Just based on the ward councillor's questions, earlier on you mentioned that it's around, it's not a walking venue. Is this for members only, and will it be kept as members only venue?
We'd like it to be members only, but until now, we haven't done anything until we knew where we was going with the licence. But we're not looking to have a bar or anything in that form.
So would you accept as
we would like it to be a
possible
members
place?
only, yeah.
So we can, under our deliberation, we may consider that.
Oh, right, great.
And you'll be received.
That would be where we would rather it be, because we'd like to be able to invite people to come that we know are responsible.
Thank you.
It's not for public.
Thank you. Back to the lady at the back. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Catherine Kelly and I live approximately 50 yards away from the proposed venue, directly opposite Our Lady of Ransom Primary School. I'm standing here today as an immediately affected resident and parent of school-aged children. I'm here to formally ask this committee to refuse this application in its entirety. Before I detail the severe risks of this proposal, I must record a serious procedural disadvantage our community faced during the application and representation period. The strict 28-day public window to object to this application took place during a political vacuum for our ward. You will notice that our current district councillor, Danielle Belton, is not listed as a formal objector in today's agenda pack. I want to explicitly clarify the timeline of events that caused this, as it demonstrates why the burden of representation has fallen as well on us as residents, and why I'm speaking here today myself. Following the ordinary local elections on May the 7th, 2026, the newly elected candidate for Swain Park and Grange Ward immediately resigned his seats and was expelled from his political party. This sudden departure created an immediate casual vacancy, leaving our ward with no active official district councillor to champion our concerns or log a formal objection during the statutory 28 consultation window. While our community went back to the polls for a by-election on Thursday, June the 18th, 2026, and successfully elected Councillor Danielle Belton, this democratic process concluded after the strict licensing cut-off date had already passed. Because our ward was in an administrative and political vacuum during the exact 28 days this application was public, the community was structurally disadvantaged. Therefore, the lack of a district councillor support today is as a result of a calendar anomaly and nothing more. The first issue I want to address, Chair, is that we must look critically at the ownership of this site, its authorised structural purpose and the massive contradiction in the applicant's own public campaign. On July the 10th, the Rayleigh Football Club launched a public petition on change.org claiming this premises licence is strictly to provide flexibility to host occasional events, such as youth presentation evenings, volunteer celebrations and club socials to keep football affordable. However, the legal application before this subcommittee completely contradicts their public narrative. Indeed, in the change.org petition, which has already been mentioned by the applicants, there is no mention of the licensing hours, and the applicants have said that local residents support on change.org, but they wouldn't have known the actual hours that the licence was going to be in operation for unless they'd have actually read the licensing notice. Additionally, in Appendix F, the applicant states that the requested hours of operation, do not reflect the club's intended day-to-day operation and should not be interpreted as the pavilion operating until midnight or 1 a.m. on a regular basis. They also state that the application has been made to ensure the club has the appropriate permissions in place for occasional events now and in the future, rather than requiring separate licence applications whenever these events arise. But then also, in reality, the pavilion is likely to host only a small number of evening functions each year. If the applicant strictly wanted this flexibility, then the law already provides temporary event notices for that exact purpose. As previously stated by the applicant themselves, they are only likely to host a small number of evening functions each year, so they should be using this process and not legally demanding a permanent 365-day-a-year, 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. or even to 11 p.m. alcohol, live music and late-night refreshment licence. Given that the pavilion building is legally allowed to host up to 15 temporary event notices per year covering 21 full days of events, and given that the applicants have stated in Appendix F and publicly that they only need a licence for occasional events, why have they disregarded the standard low-cost 10 system, and why are they demanding this licence? A youth football club has roughly 20 to 25 weekends in a playing season. Providing them with 15 individual late-night light event permissions via TENS covers virtually every single major celebration they could possibly need. Plus, the applicants themselves have already said today that they did apply for a TENS for an event last weekend. Demanding this licence is disproportionate and proves this application is not about occasional youth awards at all. It means they intend to operate a commercial late-night drinking business every single week of the year, even if they do not say that today and they are purporting that they would just use it occasionally. They will have that licence and they will be able to use it. Furthermore, if the club requires a venue for occasional events, the Rayleigh Grange Community Centre sits directly adjacent to the pavilion, and it's already fully licensed, purpose-built for the community and functions, and completely available for local groups to use. And as the applicants have already said today, they also have a secondary building. I'm not sure whether it does or doesn't have a licence, but that is another premises that they could use. Crucially, in Appendix C, Environmental Health points out that the community centre is restricted to an 11 p.m. closing curfew to protect residents. So it's entirely illogical to allow the pavilion to operate until 1 a.m, which is 2 hours later than the established Brick Community Hall next door, and incidentally later than 2 local pubs in the area, the Carpenter's Arms and Traveller's Joy. They both open at 11 or 12 during the day and have closed by 11 p.m. at the latest, and even then only on the weekend. My second issue, Chair, is that the ward councillors in Appendix D explicitly state that this physical pavilion structure was originally approved and built solely to be used as changing rooms, showers, toilets and a light refreshment daytime snack bar. As the Principal Environmental Health Officer states in Appendix C, the structure as they believe it to be it lacks the structural density to provide adequate sound insulation. And we do not have any proof of insulation of this building at all. And low frequency music and additional noise that the approval of the licence will create will act like a megaphone, vibrating directly across the 50 yards into my children's bedrooms and other residents' bedrooms too. Furthermore, because Rochford Council operates no out-of-hours live noise response team, residents will be left completely helpless at midnight on school nights when this noise shatters our sleep. My third issue, Chair, is that this is an application for a brand new premises licence. The applicant has zero operational history, zero experience running a licensed bar at this location or any other location, and absolutely no proven track record of managing late-night crowd dispersal or noise containment on this site. Under the UK licensing framework, it is standard practice for a new operator to first establish a proven track record during standard daytime and evening court hours, proving they can be a responsible neighbour before even considering late-night operations. Instead, the applicant is demanding highly sensitive antisocial hours from the outset, with no evidence of how they will fare. There is no historical data to prove they can contain the inevitable public nuisance, and this is a massive untested risk that this residential neighbourhood and the adjacent primary school should not be forced to bear. My fourth issue, Chair, is with regard to protection of children from harm. The pavilion is located adjacent to Our Lady of Ransom Catholic Primary School, and they share a boundary fence. A 1 a.m. hot food licence introduces a severe residual biological hazard. If a customer drops and smashes a glass bottle, spills grease, vomits, urinates, defecates, or leaves fast food litter along the school fence at 12:45 a.m, it cannot be safely or thoroughly cleaned up in the dark. Young children arriving for school a few hours later are the ones who will step in the broken glass or excrement, trip over litter, or pick up discarded food waste. Additionally, local wild foxes already live and forage in this park, and introducing large volumes of late-night fast food waste will habituate and concentrate these animals directly along the primary school boundary fence overnight. They leave behind severe medical hazards, including toxocarasis, which is roundworms in their faeces, which can cause permanent blindness in young children. This application also has no designated external smoking area or beer garden. This means that up until 1 a.m, anyone wishing to smoke must exit out of this building, possibly onto the public pavement, to smoke. It creates an environment where people will be loitering and discarding toxic cigarette and vape waste directly outside the primary school gates, where children are present. During the school day, we must consider the direct daytime visual impact this venue will have on the pupils who attend Our Lady of Ransom Primary School. Because this single-level structure shares a direct boundary fence, some school classrooms and recreation areas look directly onto the premises. With a planned 9 a.m. opening time for alcohol sales and sports broadcasting, I'd like to also say again, even though the applicants have said that it will just be for club functions only, the licence will give them the ability to do this should they want. The children will be able to look out of their school windows and directly witness adults congregating to drink and watch high-energy sports. This completely disrupts a safe, focused educational environment. It forces a daytime safeguarding vulnerability onto the school, exposing young children to alcohol-led adult behaviours during school hours. Normalising an early morning drinking environment right outside a classroom window directly compromises the well-being of these pupils, violating the objective to protect children from harm. While the children are not physically inside the school building at 1 a.m, they live in the immediate residential neighbourhood surrounding the school. And a daily 12 or 1 a.m. operation with the association of shouting of sports fans, potentially idling drivers and slamming car doors will severely disrupt the sleep patterns of local children on school nights. And sleep-deprived children cannot learn effectively the next day. Therefore, approving the 1 a.m. licence directly harms their education and well-being. My fifth and final issue today, Chair, is regarding crime, disorder and public safety. I do have some evidence of antisocial behaviour, and I was not sure when to give the evidence, if I needed to or not, but I do have that with me today. Our neighbourhood is already under documented strain from violence, drugs and public disorder, as evidenced by local residents in Appendix E and crime data on the police website, which is the stats that I brought you today. As an eyewitness living 50 yards away, I regularly witness groups congregating in the adjacent car park, which is set back from the road, engaging in dangerous antisocial driving day and night. Looking at the crime data, there have been 8 crimes reported in the direct area of Little Wheatley Chase since March 2026, and introducing a 16-hour drinking environment that disperses highly charged crowds at 1 a.m. straight onto an unmonitored car park and primary school perimeter will exacerbate the antisocial behaviour in this area. In Appendix A, the applicant has omitted zero evidence of a robust security or dispersal plan to manage this flashpoint. In Appendix G, one of the agreed conditions with Essex Police at point 6 states that on all occasions when licensable activity takes place, the provision of SIA door staff shall be provided on a risk assessment basis. Surely somewhere built solely to be used as changing rooms, showers, toilets and a light refreshment daytime snack bar should not need an SIA risk assessment. If the applicant truly intended to run a safe, wholesome space for children's sports teams, they would not require a legal framework for physical security guards to handle crowd control from the offset. It seems to be that the youth football club is being used as a smokescreen for a high-intensity late-night drinking establishment. In conclusion, Chair, I do not desire to prevent economic growth or block a local football club from hosting their awards ceremonies or their charity events. I fully support community diversity and sports development in Rochford. However, a 16-hour daily licence for alcohol, music and late night food inside what we were given in our evidence pack to be an uninsulated corrugated structure. I, though, do understand that the applicants have it since insulated it. Is fundamentally disproportionate. If the Rayleigh Football Club wish to host presentation evenings, they have the right to apply for a temporary event notice. They are legally entitled to 21 days per calendar year, or they can hire the Rayleigh Grange Community Centre or their other area. We should not set a precedent of over-licensing premises in this district. The structural and environmental realities of this specific site mean that
Ms.
these
Kelly, you have
operational
one.
hours
Ms.
cannot...
Kelly, you have 1 minute.
Yes, I'm just literally last paragraph. Cannot be sustained without directly compromising the licensing objectives. The severe risks of late-night public nuisance, localised disorder in an unmonitored car park, and the biological and safeguarding hazards to young children are simply too high. Therefore, I respectfully urge the committee to refuse this application in its entirety.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Councillor Joe McPherson has a question for you, if that's okay.
It's not a question, but on the back of that, I have questions to ask. Is that okay, Chairman? Yes. Thank you. For our licensing officer, due to what the representative mentioned around the election process, was the consultation rules met?
Yes, the statutory requirement is once an application is complete and valid, it must begin an immediate consultation of 28 days. That has to be properly advertised in a local newspaper with notices around the premises and on our website. The premises did not initially complete the second of that string, which is why the consultation was further extended to ensure 28 continuous days from when all notices were in place.
Thank you. And one other question, and this is to the football club representative. Out of interest, and this committee cannot take this into account, but just because I would like to know, have you had planning permission for the change from the changing rooms to a hall?
So it didn't require planning permission, by far as I'm aware, because it is just a refurb. So it's just bring it back into use for the community. It didn't require planning permission. And obviously, all the way through that, we had Rayleigh and Rochford Council coming in and explaining what we was doing to it. And they came in and checked as we went through.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Councillor Shaw, do you have any questions? No further questions. Therefore, I'm going to ask interested parties if they would like to make a short closing statement. So, first of all, licensing officers, do you have anything?
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I will just get my notes up. You have heard quite a bit of information from both the responsible authorities, the applicant, and the interested parties. I'm just going to highlight some key facts that I've been noting throughout proceedings. The applicant obviously notes that the premises is a small premises of around 56 people, and that children are at the heart of their core function. There is no plan for a walk-in bar, but obviously that is permitted within the licence. There is obviously the idea of events. There are temporary event notices in place that can be done, but a premises licence is also generally recommended because of the ability to place conditions and controls which temporary event notices do not have. The interested parties obviously raised the key things regarding increased footfall and associated noise, the pavilion's original purpose, and the smoking area being forced to be further away from the building, as well as the excessive hours. I highlight to the committee that there is always the option, should a licence be granted, for the subject to be brought back to yourselves as part of a review. This can be triggered by any responsible authority or interested party along one of the 4 licensing objectives. Obviously, when considering your decision, you should be always mindful of the 4 licensing objectives that any representation must be held to before it can be considered towards conditions or refusal if that is your decision. I remind you of your three options, which are to grant the application in full alongside the conditions agreed with Essex Police, to grant the application modifying either the conditions of the licence by adding additional conditions or varying the hours, or as a last resort, to refuse the application.
Thank you very much. We have a question from Councillor McPherson. Thank you.
Sorry, I don't think you covered, but can I ask you, can a membership be included as a condition, and how would that work if it can?
So it will depend on the wording, but yes, it could be included. So the wording would have to be robust enough, and that would enable a sort of record, so that way, if there was any enforcement action, we could then check that such a list was in place, but it is something that can be added as a condition to the licence.
Thank you. And would you be willing to accept that as a condition?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, people that come in, as in we've got a charity cancer, they would like to come in. I take it we just sign them in as a participant.
We would discuss that with
right.
our officers when we're deliberating,
Yeah.
but you'd be willing to accept membership conditions?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor McPherson. Applicants, do you have a closing statement you'd like to make? You do, I should have mentioned. You have 2 minutes if you wish to.
I think it's we've been quite a big club for quite a while, and we're trying to do the right thing in the area. Youth football is quite big, and we've just started a men's side and a ladies' side. We have the most amount of children's football in this area. We have the most amount of ladies and girls football in this area. We are trying to develop the club and keep it going forward. We would like, we have got a lease at the pavilion, whereas at our other football ground, we do not have a lease. We only have a yearly return on it. So that's why we haven't tried to put anything in facilities at the other ground. As I say, we've got 35 lease on the football ground, and all the grassed areas is down to the football club. The only part that's not down to us is the Grange. So, we're just trying to... The Grange has not been used for 5 years for a bar, so I wouldn't expect to get a complaint in any shape or form since COVID. Whereas, obviously, yes, I agree, we are learning as we go along, and we will be hot on any problems we'll be picking up and making sure that everything is nailed down and everyone is safe in the environment. Our goal is not to annoy the neighbours in any shape or form. Quite the contrary, we'd rather invite them in, get them a cup of tea, come and sit down and have a chat. It is about community, not about social drinking and pubs and antisocial behaviour. We do our best we can to stop that.
Thank you very much. Our Environmental Health Officer, do you have anything you wish to say?
Nothing further, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillors, do you have anything you would like to add? Councillor Lisa Newport, please.
Thank you, Chair. So we've heard a lot of conflicting information given by the applicant today, and it does show a level of naivety on the applicant's part. As he stated, they just ticked every box on the application form. This does not demonstrate a knowledge of the licensing objectives and on an understanding of the application. So for these reasons alone, for these reasons and the reasons I have given within the objection, I therefore respectfully ask the subcommittee to refuse the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Newport. Councillor Brewer? Nothing to say. Thank you very much. Sorry, if I could just go back to our licensing officer first, please.
So it's just to remind, sir, that the applicant must receive the last words before you enter deliberations.
Right, we're just going to that now. If you have anything else you'd like to say? Just give me a moment, sorry. Miss Kerry, wasn't it?
Catherine Kelly.
Catherine,
no,
sorry,
nothing
Kelly.
from me, thank you.
Thank you very much. Your last chance.
Yep, sorry. So the club's obviously got a reputation of 50 years in this environment, in the area. Obviously started by my father in the background. We're not out to cause any problems anywhere. It's a shame that the councillors involved didn't come in and actually try and talk it through rather than kibosh the system by putting it on WhatsApp groups and posting notes through people's doors to object to something that it wasn't intended in that way at all. I feel sorry that Mrs. Brewer didn't feel that she could come in and talk to us, where she has come in and asked me to do things for her on previous occasions, what we've done. It does feel shame that she just could not, as a chair of Raleigh Town Council, couldn't come in and go, oh, how is it going and what can we do to help you? And unfortunately, they've done the opposite. Thank you.
Yeah, you may. No. Okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It was. No, sorry. You're not allowed to speak now. Not no. Okay. Right. Thank you very much. The subcommittee will now adjourn to consider the case. We will return to announce the decision. This will also be sent to you in writing. You do not have to wait, but are welcome to do so. Thank you. Being that this is an application for a football club, I would like to wish England the very best of luck this evening. Thank you. Thank you all for staying. The subcommittee has heard all the representations made today and has resolved to grant the premises licence subject to the following additional conditions. The sale of alcohol shall be restricted to members of the club and their guests. Guests must be signed in, records must be kept for 12 months. 2. The permitted hours for the licensing activities shall be Monday to Saturday, 10 a.m. till 10:30 p.m, with members to leave the premises by 11 p.m. On Sunday, the licensing hours will be 12 noon till 10:30 p.m, with members to leave the premises by 11 p.m. All doors and windows must remain closed when regulated entertainment is being played, except for access and egress. Drinking glasses must not be taken outside the premises, including by persons leaving the premises to smoke. Appropriate signage shall be displayed at all access and egress points, advising members and their guests of this requirement. This goes along with the recommended conditions laid out by the police. A written decision to follow within 5 working days of this hearing. Anyone aggrieved by the decision can appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Thank you, everybody. That concludes the licensing hearing today.